Hello, my name is Eniola Olushinde, and I am going to present my essay, The Oversaturation of the Hip Hop Genre, How Hip Hop Has Lost Its Roots. Ever since the genre of hip hop was introduced in the 70s, it has done nothing but continue to grow. As hip hop has come so far as to not only influence other genres of music, but also take over the music industry as a whole, there is no doubt that hip hop has come a long way since the underground turntable mixing and breakdancing of hip hop in the 70s. Although, the start, Although starting in the state of New York, the genre's cultural influence proceeded to spread throughout the world, making it one of the only genres excluding rock or pop to do so. Quoted by Thorman, in most countries outside the US, rap has begun as means of presenting social and political commentary and only later branched onto subgenres that were more mainstream and commercial. However, as this genre gradually became more popular, more criticism came along considering the lack of authenticity hip hop has been able to produce. Originality has begun to fade as there has been more opportunity to become a rapper and embark on a genre compared to the 90s. Because rap has become much more popularized in the 20th century, the genre has become more oversaturated. Some of the reasons for this include the fact that due to its popularity, its impact had begun to reach a wider audience that didn't relate to most of the topics that were in the music, leading to the suburbanization of the genre and also the fact that the marginalization of the genre resulted in the genre becoming more accessible to not only listen to, but also make music and profit off of, resulting in quantity over quality. Now to move on to my first point, touching on the earlier roots of hip hop. To provide much more emphasis on this claim, one should consider the earlier roots of hip hop and how its popularity was brought forth in the first place. During the earlier stages of hip hop in the mid 80s, hip hop has turned from being a source of entertainment for the black community to transitioning into a more anthemic genre. Speaking on the political and socio-economic drawbacks African Americans face daily. The inextricable relationship with its origins saw hip hop establish itself as a vehicle of expression for dissatisfaction and dissent as a resent practice, as quoted from Ross and Rivers. Due to their abrasive, violent, and hypersexual rap lyrics, rap group NWA, or Negroes with Attitude, not only profoundly stated their position against the police brutality towards African Americans, but also found a way to authentically expose people to the ghetto, considering their upbringings from the streets of Compton, California. Songs like Straight Outta Compton, Boys in the Hood, and the wildly controversial F the Police gained national attention due to their muckraker-like ability to expose the truths of the lives of lower-class African Americans. To emphasize the significance of these songs, one could take a quote from the article in San Quentin News concerning the song F the Police that states the following. The song sparked howls of protest from law enforcement agencies. Some police agencies refused to provide security for the group's concerts. Milt R. Rich, an assistant director of the FBI, sent a letter to Ruthless Records, the company co-founded by Eazy-E, through Priority Records, warning the rappers that advocating violence and assault is wrong, and we in the law enforcement continue to take exception to such action. However, the FBI letters only helped draw more publicity to the group. Adding, according to Wikipedia, the letter has a place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. Its influence also spawned the term gangster rap, or gangsta rap, which was hip-hop that touched on the lives of gang-affiliated African Americans. Throughout the 90s, this genre has begun to take on a more mainstream position in terms of music, in terms of the music industry overall, with big names such as Tupac Shakur, Notorious B.I.G., Biggie Smalls, and Dr. Dre making headlines not only across the United States, but also around the world, carrying the same message of police brutality, gang violence, and hypersexualization of women in their lyrics. Although the genre was considered controversial when it hit the mainstream, the real reason hip-hop gained so much respect from the African American community was not only because of the amount of awareness raised to the national audience, considering what African Americans at the time had to go through, but also because of the amount of originality these rappers had. However, as their authenticity eventually influenced others to embark on rapping, this also led to the suburbanization of hip-hop, which is a leading factor onto why hip-hop has become so oversaturated today. Over the 21st century, hip-hop has continued to expand in such a little time, leaving a wider audience becoming influenced by the genre. This eventually led to the marginalization of hip-hop culture, which started to stray away from its gangster rap roots and change into a genre that not only restricted artists that had not had an upbringing in the ghetto. The suburbanization of hip-hop quickly became a leading factor in why hip-hop has eventually become oversaturated, considering the wider audience that not only listens to the genre, but also embarks on making music. For example, one could consider how fast white Americans have influenced the state of rap during the 2000s. Although the sound of the Beastie Boys and Vanilla Ice was profoundly influential in the 80s and 90s, both did not come close to being as influential as Eminem during his commercial debut in the late 90s. Known for his unapologetic lyrics that touch on sexual violence, murder, and drug abuse, Eminem quickly became a widely criticized figure in hip-hop, being banned from multiple radios due to censorship. Although this was the case, Eminem was widely acclaimed by critics for his lyrical dexterity and his unique personality that derived from music, which influenced other white Americans or people that did not come from poor surroundings to also make hip-hop. They adopted his fashion, rapping style, and behavior to marginalize themselves within the criteria of hip-hop easier and eventually become accepted by the community. Furthermore, normative status of African American youth within U.S. hip-hop, judged by the preponderance of African American rappers in the U.S. music genre and hip-hop oriented magazines, challenges white youth to establish itself as a legitimate participant in what is widely perceived to be a black space, quoted by Cutler. This marginalization of the hip-hop identity through this transformation then proceeded to impact the image of the hip-hop and how widely accepted it is to become a rapper in the modern era. With the rise of the social media age, hip-hop has become more about getting a quick buck whilst maintaining popularity. The image of hip-hop has now become so marginalized to the point where almost anyone can become a rapper. In fact, you'll find rappers from multiple demographics and personality types, from your nerdy computer science major to that one kid you knew on the water polo team, and to your cigarette smoking drug dealer. Even they too have become rappers, according to your space. Originality is at expense through this, considering the rarity of seeing an authentic rapper, nevertheless, one that goes far as becoming popular. The concept of the fast food era can tie into this point, considering how many rappers only see the value of embarking on the genre through popularity. Lackey Speaks, a YouTuber who is widely known for his commentary on hip-hop, brought up this concept while speaking on the lack of originality in the hip-hop world, through many examples of artists that not only contribute to a new trend or embarking on acts for the sake of clout or popularity. The points he summed up through the video, fast food era of hip-hop, could be described through this quote. The rap music that we're hearing in the mainstream today just blends in together because everyone is afraid of taking their time with the music because they do not want to be left behind and forgotten. Furthermore, you gotta think about it like this. Coming up with something new and introducing a new sound is a considerable risk because, let me say this, why not replace the most popular sound, add a small quantity of spice to it? Not too much because you don't want to get turned off. This shows that popularity has become the sole reason more artists are emerging. More artists seem to come up due to how comprehensible it is to create rap music. since now everyone can become a rapper as stated before. Due to how popularized hip-hop has become, this genre has become a source of easy access to popularity. So in conclusion, as stated before, the popularity of hip-hop over the past 40 years, since the 80s, was derived from how authentic the material was in the first place. However, as the genre began to become more popular, it attained a wider audience, leading to the influence resulting in the suburbanization of the genre. This eventually resulted in the later loss of its roots, due to how much the genre strayed away from its morals in exchange for the marginalization of the culture. This resulted in the loss of authenticity overall, leading to the lack of originality being traded in for the growth of popularity of rappers in the modern technological age. This goes to show that due to the steady growth of the genre, hip-hop has strayed away from its roots and what it was before, a voice symbolizing the lives of African Americans across the state of America.